Hello and welcome to the Feel Freaking Amazing podcast. I'm Wendy Trubo. My co-host is Ed Levitan, and we have one of my favorite people. I always say that, but really genuinely, this is one of my favorite people. This is Dr. Shippy. She is a board-certified internal medicine physician, certified functional medicine practitioner, and she's a leading voice in the emerging preconception movement, as well as a total expert in toxicants. So she and I speak the same language. Her latest book, The Preconception Revolution, provides a roadmap for people to prepare their bodies for healthy pregnancies and optimize generational wellness, which we'll talk about. Through her Austin-based medical practice and online programs, Dr. Shippy has helped couples conceive healthy babies well into their 40s through this method. And welcome. We're so excited to have this conversation.
Oh, it's so great to see you. I wish I could beam myself over there with you.
I know. We could figure this out. We'd have room for three.
Yes.
So I think it's really cool that you're getting into fertility, because to me, toxicants and your expertise in that lends itself perfectly into fertility. And Ed made me start the recording, but as I was sharing with you, that the people who do the work on toxicants are the ones who get pregnant really easily. And the ones who don't, it's harder.
Yeah. In fact, I try to remember to tell my patients that aren't over 50 that once they start working with me, even if they've had problems with fertility in the past and they think they're done with their families, to make sure that they've got their birth control figured out. Because once the body gets detoxified, the body built up the nutrients, lowering inflammation, helping the mitochondria, all these things that we're doing, the body's like, wait, I can pump out one more baby.
Right? How'd you get into this? Because this is not really your background, right?
It's really like, both of my kids have had some run-ins with their health, and I've had run-ins with my health, right? And so this is really what I wish I had known before I got pregnant with my children. And it's what I've learned from my patients. Like, one of my patients actually planted this seed. I was a year into my functional medicine practice. She'd heard about me. It was, like 19 years ago. And she pursued me. She's like, I'm 42, got married late. I want to have a baby. And I have a feeling that there are some things that wouldn't be good for the baby. And so I just started. I was still pretty new at functional medicine, right? So I was like, well, okay, you've had some amalgam fillings, so let's check your mercury levels. Let's do a DMPS challenge and let's look at your microbiome. And we found a lot, actually. And so about 9 months after we did a tune-up, it took about 9 months so imagine 42, you have the presence to know, rather than just like zooming into getting pregnant, to pause and get your body ready. Like that was kind of remarkable thinking for that time. And she taught me so much, because then she got pregnant like that, had a healthy baby, very strong pregnancy, felt great postpartum. So then I had a number of patients who got pregnant not expecting that they would, because they thought they were done, but their bodies got so fertile. And then another teacher was 35-year-old who had failed IVF multiple times, could not find another IVF doctor to do another round. And she had heard about me, came to see me. We found some things that, some undiagnosed autoimmunity and several other things, got her body into balance, and she got pregnant right away. So being told, oh, you need to adopt to healthy baby. And then evidently she got super fertile because she was still nursing the first one and got pregnant with twins.
Oh, wow.
Didn't learn her lesson. Was nursing the twins and got pregnant with number 4. So she went from being like, I only have the choice to adopt, to 4 children, very young, I think under 6. So,
hey, she's still alive.
And she's still like, oh my gosh, she's a beautiful family. That's been a number of years ago now. I think that was 15, 16 years ago that she had number 1. So kids are getting older. And so I really felt excited about writing this information down for people, because everybody else is getting scared into doing IVF. And so I started writing the book in 2016. And I hired a PhD biologist because, running a busy practice, I was like, I would need somebody to gather the research for me. So I'd talk to her every Friday morning and I'd say, go research this. And she'd research it, write it up, and we'd just crank through and got like 60% of the book written. And then got an agent, and the agent was like, oh, no. You have to write the detox book first. And then we started really working on that book. And then she decided she was going to quit being an agent and have a baby. So then I did a TED Talk, did an X Prize thing, and then COVID hit. And so that kind of took me out of any extra time to write books for 3 years. And so then in 2 years ago, I just really reconnected with my heart and what is it that I want to be focusing on. And it was kind of perfect timing because it's so clear now we are in a children's health crisis and in a fertility crisis. And so my research and patient examples and all of this just lend solutions for things that turned out to be the perfect timing for now.
I mean, there really is a fertility crisis, and it shocks me that nobody's talking about it, right? Like even men's fertility, that their sperm count is declining like something like 1% per year compared to other years.
Yes, it's 50% drop in the sperm count alone. There's other problems happening at the same time over 50 years. So on average, 1% here, but it's accelerating. The last percentage was 2.6% drop. So,
but my guess is all the same things that for women are the same for men, apply for men in terms of fertility.
Yes, that was the exciting thing about this version of the book that just came out, and that's that so much of the research to prove what I believe has been done. Like there's so much good information to back up what we're practicing and what we're seeing helping our patients. It's very medically sound.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say off the top of my head, if you said to me, okay, what are the things that impact fertility? I would say, okay, plastics, and more plastics, plus, and the VOCs, the heavy metals, not so much mycotoxins, but some, but really the environmental bucket. You know, the gasoline. Is there anything I'm missing though? Like what else? What else?
The organophosphates, the glyphosate.
Glyphosate.
Don't say that.
Don't
say that evil word in front of Wendy. Glyphosate.
Just a lecture on glyphosate. It's like my hot button word.
No, like there's so much data showing that it has epigenetic impact. So like men with glyphosate in their bodies, exposure to it, it can even impact the health of the embryo, the health of the placenta, the fertility, how well the pregnancy goes even. And then future generations.
Pause right there, and men matter too.
Men
really?
are more.
Men matter.
They
really?
matter as much or
now
more
you tell
in
me.
those.
Well,
it's on the show.
You have it documented. You have it documented. Men matter.
Men can leave the health legacy for their children. Like it's critical that men start to understand that this is the most important thing that they can do to really love their future child is to take 3, 6, 12 months before conceiving to really tune up their body. Because of all the epigenetic research on how the genes are being influenced to dial up and dial down and affect not just the baby that's being conceived, but even future generations is really incredible.
And horrifying. Like none of this is a happy conversation. People aren't like, oh, I'm so happy we had this conversation. They're like, oh, I'm never going to sleep, eat, or do anything in the world again. Because it's so horrifying.
That's what we kind of are. It's already horrifying, right? When we look at the rates of autism and the diabetes and the mental health, all the things that the cancer risk going up so much, all these things, like we're already horrified. But I want to bring hope to this conversation because what I'm finding is men, when they realize that they're putting some effort in before getting pregnant, they want to do it. Like they're highly motivated to take action, even if it involves not drinking alcohol for 3, 6, 12 months and making sure they get to the gym and work out and actually cook their food. They're like, oh, okay. Once they understand, they make the connections, they're on it.
Are there any toxins that are silently affecting fertility? Or is it all the stuff we've talked about? I mean, I don't think it's that silent. I think it's glaring.
I think it's glaring. I think, I just feel like the medical field is almost lulled into sleep about it. Like they're not realizing it's this conversation that we have all the time about in our world about what the root causes of all the health conditions are, right? I think they just have blinders on, and they're looking for technology. Like so many men and women just think, oh, if I can't get pregnant, I'll just do IVF. And they're not using fertility as a check engine light and choosing to do the work to get to the root causes, to get their bodies into balance. And it when you start to look at every place that we're getting exposed, it can be overwhelming. But if you just take it a bite-sized piece at a time, I think most people can make a tremendous amount of progress in 3 months.
Yeah, you really can, because you start with, what are you running out of? What are you doing in your shopping list? What can you level up on today? Just right this minute. How do we level up in the moment? So where do you start with people? If a woman comes in, or I guess it's not really only women, it's if a couple comes in and whether they're heterosexual, not heterosexual, where do you start the workup with them?
Yeah, I really do love it when both partners show up to do the work. It just makes the whole process go smoothly when they're doing it together. And I think it actually deepens their relationship and their collaboration. It's great preparation for becoming parents, where you are, you're doing a lot of collaboration as you two are doing. I'd like to start with just laying some solid foundation with a really clean diet. So
what does that mean to you?
Yeah. It means what they cut out and what they add in, right? So there's a study that came out on sperm, actually after the book came out, so it didn't make it in there. All the 500 studies that did, it came out just a few months too late, but it was so profound on the impact of the ultra-processed foods. So they took men, and for 3 weeks, they fed them a highly processed food in one group, and then the other group got unprocessed foods, just whole foods, partly packaged. Dramatic difference in the ultra-processed foods in just 3 weeks. But sperm take 74 to 86 days to make, right? So the fact, I thought if I had read the study design before they did it, I would have been, that's way too short. You need at least, 2 months to see a difference. Well, in 3 weeks, they could see changes in hormone levels, and the quality of the sperm dramatically reduced with the ultra-processed foods.
Increase the quality improved, or
the quality decreased with the ultra-processed foods. The quality of
the quality. I'm sorry, I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. And then they did a little washout period, and then they switched groups. Same difference. Like hormones are better, eating whole foods rather than the processed foods, and dramatic difference in sperm quality. So if we can at least get the diet right, like mostly organic, unprocessed, I think you can get a lot of inflammation down, get nutrients up, and make a tremendous difference. So I really ask people to get started with the diet first. Pretty much everybody gets a detailed toxin test, just because even when people think that they're doing everything right, like this couple that I saw them both for the first time in November, and she got all her stuff done quickly, but he had a lot going on and they were moving. And so I just did his lab results, and he did a whole bunch, batch together. And his toxin levels were kind of crazy because they were eating all organic. They actually have an organic food company, like they're already on it, right? So we're expecting I'm like, please check, but expecting it to all come back right. He had a very high MTBE, which is a gasoline additive, as you know. But the first test that he did was a NutriVal. So that MTBE was right before they moved into this new house. And it was great. the one that he did at the end of January, it was one of the highest I've ever seen. And so on this appointment, we're like, okay, where is this coming from? Where could it be? Like, it's such a dramatic difference. Well, it turned out their new house had a couple of the gas fireplaces, one in the bedroom and then one in the living area, and he works from home. So
Lovely.
Constantly getting exposed. And we had done this special sperm test, a sperm QT, so we could see, and that was more recent too, so we could see that something was also messing with its epigenetics and quality of the sperm a little bit. And so it's so great that they checked, right? Because they're just thinking, oh, it's just a nice ambiance. But I've seen enough of this with the gas fireplaces that I'm like, I need to write this up in a blog, because I think, especially in this period of time, but really ever, that it's probably not a great idea to use those. And definitely switch out the gas stove if you can. The thing we haven't figured out for him, and especially since they're doing mostly organic or all organic, he had one of the organophosphates was high, really high.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that could have been left over also. Who knows?
Yeah.
From storage fat and whoever else.
That's very possible, especially since we had started him on some supplements with some liposomal glutathione and some binders and things to help. Our theory at this point is that it might have, he was using marijuana for a number of years fairly heavily, but
that industry is not well regulated from that point of view.
Right. But I think most men don't even think about, oh, I'm getting heavy metals, I'm getting pesticides from doing a little bit of THC.
Right. What's the test that you like for toxicant testing?
The one that I've been using recently is Vibrant. I've gone back and forth a little bit with Vibrant and Mosaic, I guess is what they're called now. My favorite test was one that I had to send over to Germany. Did you ever use IGL in Germany? Oh my God,
I've heard of it.
But the founder passed away and he didn't have any family, so I guess the government took over the lab. So sad.
Oops.
Yeah.
Can you share one of your favorite transformation stories?
Yeah. I had a couple that had brought me their children. They had a 3-year-old with pretty severe neurodevelopmental delays, and a 1.5-year-old with a 1-year-old with pandas syndrome, so neuropsychiatric autoimmune. And we got them reversed. The little girl is now 6th grade, and she is just, you would never know what she had gone through, to the extent of, somewhat precocious, like leading her class, very social, doing cheerleading, things that her parents at the time couldn't have even imagined. And then the pandas resolved. But while we were getting the children better, the parents decided to become patients too. And they had gone through some infertility to get their children. So they weren't expecting to be, fertile. But at 42, got pregnant with number 3. And this little girl is so healthy. Like, she has not had to deal with anything that her siblings have dealt with. She hardly even gets a cold. And so that really taught me that even when, maybe some genetics, epigenetics, environmental factors have contributed to illness in children, that it is very possible to go on to have very healthy children, even in your early 40s. And then another story that's even a little bit more inspiring and more amazing in a way is it's changed my cutoff of when I think it's even a good idea to have children. I was kind of like in that 45, 46. My mom had my little sister when she was 44. And I had a woman come to see me and her partner. She was 46 and had met the love of her life, had 2 older children, and they wanted to have a baby together. So I was like, okay, we can try. Let's get some data. And we did. We found that she had some high toxicants and some nutritional deficiencies, some disruptions in her microbiome. We worked super hard for 3 months. And she got pregnant at 47, 3 or 4 months, and she got pregnant at 47. She's about to turn 48, and she's 8 months pregnant, and she's about to have another baby. And she's had an amazing pregnancy. She's felt great. Her body was so tuned up. It's just been wonderful, easy pregnancy, and so I really think it's very possible to be very fertile into your mid to late 40s.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
And you just brought up something interesting that sort of challenges the way I think, because I typically think of getting rid of the toxicants as more like a slog, not like a 3-month kind of thing, but especially for people who have really high mercury or lead or very high mycotoxins or a broad range of mycotoxins, I always say to them, this is not like a 2-month one and done. How are you doing these so quickly?
Yeah. I also do some IVs in my office. I use the PK protocol, phosphatidylcholine and NAD for people that are in a big hurry or that have the resources to do that. I don't think you have to do that, but if you're in a hurry, that's an option to speed things along. And she definitely, she didn't feel bad. So I think when people come in and they have a really high toxic load and they're not feeling right, it's a little different than somebody who feels okay, but is just being cautious. And that was her situation. She knew my work and she wanted to see what I thought. Is it even safe to get pregnant? Can I get pregnant? And honestly, I would have preferred that she came back and checked her levels, but they had one night and they were thinking, not the right time for the cycle. And they weren't thinking they were going to get pregnant, but they did just one night at 47. So okay. I'm like, okay, this must mean you're super fertile. So it's got to be okay. And it has been so far. But yeah, for people that are, if you have some family history of autoimmunity, Parkinson's, early dementia, any of these family history things that kind of go along with, or even cancer, heart disease, that go along with not detoxifying great, I really think it's a good idea to go much longer. 3 months is the minimum, but this whole conversation where women in their early 30s, late 20s are getting scared about their fertility because of what they're seeing around them and what the narrative is out there. Start now. Rather than saving for egg retrieval, prioritize helping your detox pathways work, because we all need it. That world that we're living in today, nobody's immune, including myself, right? We all are being so heavily exposed without our permission. And we think the food packaging is okay. We think that the air quality is okay because the government isn't doing anything about it. Well, it's very clear, especially with what we saw this week with glyphosate. I don't know when this is going to come out, but that our government is not really looking at our best interests. Although I did hear Kennedy came to Austin last night, and he said that they are working on a plan for scaling out glyphosate. They have all the right people on deck to come up with a plan. We'll see if it actually happens or not, but hopefully that's in the mix, because especially in this conversation around fertility, like we have to stop dumping glyphosate into our, I didn't realize that you used to lecture on the glyphosate. I somehow missed getting to hear one of your lectures. I'm sure that would have been amazing. Here's a story you'll find interesting. So I got to go to Tanzania 2 years ago, and one of the parts of the trip was to go to meet with the Hadzabe tribe. So hunter-gatherers, and then to go meet with the Maasai tribe. And there was about a 3 to 4 hour drive between the two tribes. And what we saw in between was field after field after field of Monsanto corn. So I get to the Maasai tribe, and we had one of the tribal leaders with us for a lot of the trip, and he came over to say hello to me. There's hundreds of people between the tribe and our group, and so we were talking, and his brother came over, and his brother is an MD. He had left the tribe for the years and gone and trained to get his MD, and then had come back to help care for the tribe. And I was asking him, well, what are you seeing with your tribe? And he was saying, they're having so many maternal deaths because of the preeclampsia and other complications of pregnancy. They're seeing autism in children now. Like, these are tribes, right? So the link that I could make is with the glyphosate, but then also the plastic. Like, there was so much. They don't have trash retrieval systems in these places, and there was so much plastic bottles and plastic bags along the roadways. So between, I think, the glyphosate and the plastics, they're seeing more infertility. They're seeing more health problems, and it's just so sad because they really don't have medical care. Like, there's no hospital nearby to take these women or newborns to that need medical care. It's almost impossible to get them the medical care they need.
Yeah. I'm going to take us a little bit.
Yeah, you're hard to hear.
A little bit slightly different area, and if we don't want to do it, then we can go away. But where do you find like trauma and infertility?
Oh, that's such a great question. This is so fascinating. Oh my gosh. I think it's harder to study women on this, but I'm sure it's very similar. But with the men, they can study epigenetic changes in the sperm that get passed on to the child, or even in animal studies. And so they can even, like, they've linked a trauma to a smell, and then future generations reacting, with a trauma. That's like cool. Escape response when they have that smell. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like, it's kind of fascinating that humans even still exist on the planet. Like, it's so, from a survival standpoint, it's hard to survive, right? So it's almost like you can't get taught everything you need to know. A lot has to just be instincts. So I really do believe that it's helpful to do some neurofeedback, to do some psychological reset. And that's actually the first part of the book, is to do some intention setting, make sure that everything's solid ground before you bring the baby in, and that things are really in a good place with your partner. You're on the same page. You want this child for the reasons that really make sense for you and the baby. And I think there's a lot more research to do in this area around trauma, but certainly when our bodies are more stressed, that's a lot of the red light. Like, it's the check engine light coming on. When we're moving the tribe, it's not a good time to get pregnant and have a baby. So if there's not enough nutrients, like if we're in a famine, people still can get pregnant, but that doesn't mean you should. But it definitely lowers the probability of having an easy pregnancy. And getting pregnant easily. Yeah.
Can you talk about the preconception window, Anne?
Yeah. To me, this window that's intentional before trying to conceive. So I've really, I've really oscillated on this. It's not defined. This is me, slot me just kind of getting out there and starting to have the conversation. There's no determined definition. For me, when you look at how long it takes for an egg to be created, how long it takes for a sperm to be created, it's a minimum of 3 months. I see this with my patients where they're like, oh, but I'm ready now. Like, I don't want to wait at all. And so it's somewhat of a negotiation on how long the preconception period is. So with my patients, I can actually look at data and tell them when they're really ready. But for people that just want to do preparation, they give themselves a time period, at least do what I put in the book with the supplementation on the detox and getting the diet dialed in and reducing the toxins in the environment. But I think we should start thinking about it. Where I'm coming to now, especially with these conversations that most women are thinking they're going to have to do IVF, is let's start thinking about the preconception period actually in teenagers. Like, how can parents protect their child's fertility starting now? Like, don't let them get.
We just talked about teenagers being
the bane of my existence. That's a little bit overstated, but there are days that I'm like, I'm actually auctioning off a teenager, and I might pay for someone to take the teenager depending on the day.
So I think that's a great thought.
Well, but I mean, we're known as like the weird parents. I'm always like, what are you doing drinking out of a plastic bottle? Get rid of the plastic bottle. You drink from glass or metal and test the metal for lead to make sure that you're not drinking lead. But we're the weird ones. Like, my daughter in 3rd grade, I think, came home with a bright blue plastic bottle of something. And she goes, Mama, can I have this? They gave it out. I was like, what is it? Tell me the ingredients. So I made her read the ingredients to me. She was like stumbling over the words because it wasn't English. It was like, tetrahydrocardio. And I said to her, what is that? She goes, I don't know. I said, well, is it food? She goes, I don't think so. I said, so do you want to put it in your body? She's like, no. So we poured it down the drain. I mean, she was so sad because everyone else was drinking it, but we're the weird ones. And I just have to think, like, how many people need to be as weird as us to improve fertility?
But you are protecting your children's fertility by making those choices on a day-to-day basis. So accolades to you. And I will say, you're planting the seeds. So I have 2 boys, and I was the super weird mom, super, super strict, weird at times. And now that they're 24 and 28, and it was a battle a lot. Everything from like, is it safe to play video games? World of whatever, a Call of Duty, to what they ate and drank and what deodorant they used. Like, one of my kids wanted to use Old Spice deodorant for a while. I was like, not in my house. But what's so fascinating now that they're 24 and 28, and my 28-year-old, when this book was coming out, he's like, and he's not anywhere close to ready to start his family. He's like, yeah, I better start being even more careful to preserve my fertility. And they both, shop organic, cook their own food most of the time, don't drink out of and sometimes they're even on me more than like, they're like, I can't believe you're eating that, or I can't believe you're coloring your hair.
Everybody's allowed to have one vice.
Yes.
Right? Like, your whole life is clean. You're allowed to have that vice.
It's my hair.
Yeah. Yeah, Laura Frontiero also dyes her hair. She's like, I dye my hair every 2 weeks. I've done my toxins panel regularly. I have no toxicants. That's my one vice. I'm like, okay, you can have a vice. It's okay.
I do extra glutathione those days, eat extra cruciferous vegetables, do some binder, do a detox bath.
But I think you're highlighting something really important, that it's not about being perfect. It's about dancing with what's going to work for you. You do the best you can with all of these things. And then around your excursion or your vice or whatever we want to call it, that you support your body. You know, it's not just oblivious, like, like, you know, it's not the best, but you're going to do the extra things to help yourself be healthy. I think it's a balance.
Oh, it's also, your body's resilient.
Yeah.
As long as you don't dump it with all the toxins and hormones and everything else, your body will clean itself. It is resilient.
Right. Maybe don't dye your hair and drink alcohol and eat lots of processed food on that day.
Have some nice tuna.
Sushi
Tuna.
So let me ask you this question. Speaking of ultra processed food, we were in Whole Foods. I don't know why the two of us were in Whole Foods on the same day, but we were. And we were walking along and he said to me, "Do you want to make veggie burgers with the Beyond Meat?" And I was like, "I'd rather use ground beef because it feels really highly processed and I just don't want to eat that. I'd rather eat meat. I just like meat." And he's not a huge meat eater. So I was like, "Do you want me to make you them?" And he's like, "No, I don't really like the sound of them either." Where do you fall on the meat substitutes? Because they seem highly processed.
I'm not a fan. I think they have to still add chemicals in the processing and the packaging. I can't imagine that they're good for you. And I do think, I mean, it's very challenging, I think, to build a baby without eating some meat. I happened to be a macrobiotic vegetarian for about 3 years before I got pregnant with my first. And I just started craving eggs. Like I could eat 3 eggs 3 times a day. And I think it was my body's way of saying, wait, you got to get the protein stores. So for people that want to do vegetarian and get pregnant, I would highly recommend doing a NutriVal and see where your protein markers are, see where your and then substitute with the choline and other supplements and things that can be really helpful there.
Do you have a top 3 list for people who want to prepare their body for healthy pregnancy and they're like, "I don't know where to start"? Do you have sort of top 3 things for things they can take away and go, "Okay, do these top 3 things right away"?
Yeah. Top 3 things. Number 1 is the clean diet, laid that foundation. Number 2 is, depending on what your budget is, start supplementing, really build up your nutrient stores with a really good, we call it fertility fuel. So it's got a lot of the things in it that help with fertility and the nutrient stores, but do the detox, do the liposomal glutathione, the binders, the liver support. And number 3, clean up your environment as much as possible. And that would include filtering your water, having an air filter, a good HEPA air filter at night, and then start working on the things in your environment and that you put on your body through looking at Environmental Working Group or one of the apps that really help you to know, because that's another surprising place that people are getting toxins that they don't realize is what they're using on a daily basis on their skin and their hair. And then I think most of us really need something to work on stress. And we can't underestimate how that's impacting us. It's really all of us, not just people that want to get pregnant, but anybody that wants to have health and longevity. So I really believe in having some type of meditation practice or neurofeedback. I love neurofeedback. So things like the Muse or Sensei or little neurofeedback devices that you can meditate and train your brain at the same time, so that stress response really gets balanced.
Okay. We're going to put everything in the show notes and we'll put it so people can see it. Where can people find more about you and get in touch with you and get the book?
Yes. So my website is Ann Shippy, MD. We have a lot of information on Instagram and some on LinkedIn. So we're getting good information out there all the time. Then I have a new initiative that probably giving people too many options, but my hope is that this really helps every baby to be born healthy with good longevity to begin with. So we have this new initiative called everybabywell.com. So there's lots and lots of information in the book. And then we have a program that will give people access to getting some of these labs that I think can be really helpful without having to come to see me. So that'll be on the Every Baby Well site. And it's already kind of getting a global, have a person in Canada, a person in Europe, and then a couple just reached out from Australia. So I don't know how this book is getting out there, but yeah, they're like, we just read the book and now we want to do the program. So, and it's been, I didn't know how I was going to like the program effort because I just love meeting with my patients and doing the one-on-one or, working with the couples. And it's actually been so interesting to see how the participants in the program really start to care about each other and encourage each other on, whether it's, some of the dietary stuff is hard or, finding the source of the toxins or the different things that come up there. It's like this really beautiful community that's already forming.
It's really great. And we'll put all of that in the show notes. And as someone who knows you and admires you deeply, I would highly recommend people get the book and read it and follow you. So thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast. We'll definitely put the word out.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. Let's help this next generation to get a better start than they're getting.
Yeah. Healthier than their parents.
Yes. Rather than the reverse.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for being on the Feel Freaking Amazing podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.